Welcome back to Spinning the Past. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about hand combs. Hand combs are for the longer wools, a 3.5 inch or longer. They come in different sizes. This is a mini, what we call mini combs. This is a Saint Blaise. I don't know if it's Saint Blaise or Saint Blaise. Combs, look at that. You can see the tines are much stronger than this one. Then over here, this is can be used for blending, but these tines are really strong here. And look, this comes with it. Really, really, really sharp. Not something that you're going to want to take with you and use in historical reenactment with kids running around who want to touch everything. And then this is also what is used. This is called a diz. The prepared fiber goes through here and you hook it through, and as you pull it will stay that size. So you notice there are different size of the holes here. That is going to be the diameter that comes through. And why is that important? That's a kind of a precursor of what we call pin drafting. In modern machinery, the pin draft, just means when they process this, they go through rollers, they go through little holes that make it thinner and thinner and thinner. And then as thin as they want the final yarn to be spun, thread to be spun, that is going to be the diameter. So this is kind of it's a very useful thing. So if I know that I want my singles to be this diameter, and I pull it through and I make a nice long pencil roving and I spin, then it will stay that diameter. The same way with this. If I put it through, this is very thin. This would be almost like a lace weight. If I pull that through there and if I pull that through. So the back side is concave. So from your combs, it will go through here. You'll pull it through here and you'll gradually tug, 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 and it'll make a pencil roving. And I'll show you that process when we get to it. But today I just wanted to show you the different applications of the combs if you are shopping for combs. The length of the fiber matters and the weight of this matters. So as you can, I don't know if you can see on here, but some of these tines have gotten out of alignment, and that's because I was pulling on wool that was really too strong, and we call these long wools strong wools, and you can see why. They're really strong. Length helps give that strength. These are also thicker. The diameter of the individual fiber is thicker, so that gives a nice strong wool. So sometimes when you're trying to do some long wools, it can just, you can see it's tugging on that, which is why I went and got some other stronger tools. There's one tool here that I don't have, and I didn't purchase it, and I should have purchased it while the man was making them. But it's similar to this, but it is a 5-tine comb. Pretty heavy, and the tines gradually get longer and longer at each row. So that's 5 rows of tines, and really heavy. And as you go through combing, then that makes a really nice preparation. And the reason I talk about those heavy combs is that in the history of spinning, these combs were very heavy, probably several pounds. I've heard up like to 5 pounds. They were the profession of wool combers was an actual profession done by men, just because the weight of this tool was so heavy that with repeated use again and again and again and again all throughout the day, women's wrists found it hard to hold and to do repetitively. So that was a men's job. And interestingly, in the history of spinning, that those who were in that profession, that wool combing was the last piece of the being able to mechanize the whole spinning process, so that it was hard to get machines to process with the some sort of combs. It was hard to get a machine to replicate what a human could do. So it was one of the last. Why do we use these? Why would we, other than they're long? So what if it's long? Who cares if it's long? Can't you just use these on cards? Well, again, what is the wool that I'm using? This is a strong wool. What is its purpose? Its purpose is to make something that's durable and rugged. The longer the fiber, the better. Longer fibers were used primarily in weaving, and the preparation was worsted prep and worsted spinning. So worsted prep is one thing, worsted spinning is its own thing, and I'll talk about true worsted. And again, I am talking about true worsted here today. So if I get a shorter fiber, because we had on Facebook, people thought I was just making this up. No, you need to look at Peter Thiel, who back in the 80s, 70s and 80s, kind of did all these experiments with hand combs, and he very methodical, and he did all these little experiments with all these and came up with the best practice for using, because we lost this knowledge for probably about 150 years, and then he came and figured out how it should be done. And so Peter Thiel, T-E-A-L, it's still on Amazon, it's called Wool Combing, is considered a classic. And in his book, he also says that he uses it for, you have to use these combs for wools that are 4 inches to 10 inches long. We've taken it back to about 3.5 inches, but some people recently argued that, oh, you can do anything worsted, and which is not true whatsoever. And somehow they thought that that was merely my opinion, and that was actually a long period of testing and reconstructing. So that's not my opinion. That's really comes from Peter Thiel. So I put this very short just to show you, because sometimes you need to be shown why things don't work. Again, we want to comb out the shorter fibers. And how we do that is by going through here, we're actually pulling out the longest fibers. What remains back here in the tines is waste. It's the shortest fibers. You can use that for woolen spinning, but if we are doing worsted spinning for a worsted yarn, I want to show you. This is with the short wool. This is a Corriedale that's probably about 2.5 inches. So this would be short. First of all, I'm having a hard time getting the tines close enough. Here's what's left over. This is, again, a very wasteful type of preparation, which is why worsted suits, worsted fabric, worsted everything is more expensive, because you lose, when I go through this again, I will lose approximately half of what I started with. So here we have some short fibers. We'll put them aside. We'll go through this again. We're looking for, what we're doing is we're making hand preparation of top. And any of those of you who know what top is really smooth. It is made for worsted spinning. So here, even though I did this, I still have these little at the bottom. See, all these little, so I still have all these neps. I should be able to take out all these little neps and second cuts through the combs, but it's not working because this is too short to work with. This fiber, see, that's waste. It should have all the same lengths, same length, same length, same length, same length, but I have here, and I have some here, and I have some here. So this should be very straight and across. So I'm going to show you, if we use a proper length of wool, what we will end up with. So this is Lincoln. Again, you want to use, here we go, Lincoln. Okay. So when you're hand combing, you don't want them all down here. And in the back, you want as little back there as possible. You don't want it to be like half done because it will snarl in there. So I want just those tips back there. And I'm going to, see, it's struggling. And it is a bit flyaway because the house is very dry, which is another reason why they would keep the lanolin in, or they would spritz some lanolin in. So this that's left behind here can be used for something else. I need some wool right now to do some insulation work, so I put that in a little pile. And again, and again, and again. And then, this is just really, really quick. I would put my diz right here. Let me see if I can put this here. Put my diz. It's hard to do this camera and to do this one-handed. So you can see. And then I will pull. And I will pull. And I will pull. Can you see that? And whatever, it'll naturally come apart by itself. Can you see it? And this is what you're looking for. This is the prep for true worsted spinning. And I put it through the thickest so it will be uniform, approximately the same number of fibers. So I'm just doing hand twisting here. Can you see that hand twist? Okay, approximately the same number of fibers. Look how consistent that is. Look how consistent. And it should be smooth, and it will have luster. And it will have luster, which is sheen to it, because the sheep fiber itself has sheen. The long wools have sheen. They have a shiny thing. So look at that. Look at that, beautiful. This is just kind of a singles, but I hope you can see. I mean, if I did a true spinning, I would present it to the wheel, and I'll show you. And all the air and all the fibers will be in that twist. It'll be a very, very smooth yarn. And again, smooth yarns make for smooth final projects. So that's about the kind of yarn you will have. It's very, very consistent. So that is just an intro to hand combs. This apparatus over here does the same thing, but I can lash. That's what we call when we put the wool on. I can lash a whole series there, and then I can use this and do the same thing. This is acting as one of the combs, and then I will use this. Okay, I'll show you. So in this action, this was hand crafted by a gentleman, so I'm not sure it's available, but this is what these combs are going to take out, the smaller pieces. Again, this can be prepped for woolen spinning. It can be used for all kinds of purposes, for insulation, for batting, for stuffing toys, for making pin cushions, lots of different. So you don't have to think that, oh, I wasted all that wool. But in this process, you will lose considerable amount of wool. I'm hoping that that is a adequate introduction today to the proper technique for worsted prep. Now, this is true worsted. Disclaimer, I'm not talking about things that are semi-worsted. Semi-worsted means that I can take roving, make something as roving, and I can spin it in such a way that they're in a worsted technique, which is kind of a short draw technique. But that's not what I'm talking about here. This is true worsted prep for true worsted spinning. The prep is either a woolen prep on the hand cards, and then it goes to a true woolen, to a semi-woolen, to a semi-worsted, to a true worsted. So there's a continuum, right? So if people say, well, I can do this on, I can use these short ones and then I can make, well, you're not making a true worsted. The true worsted starts with the sheep wool. It has to be a certain length. It has to be prepped in a certain way. It has to be spun in a certain way for true worsted. But if you want to make something a semi-worsted, good on you. Again, I'm just showing you, this is through Peter Thiel. Again, you can get his book. I'll link it below. Peter Thiel did all of this work to help us understand how the true worsteds are done. So he's the authority on that. So with this, I will say I'll see you next time on Spinning the Past.